Motherhood isn't just a title, it's actually a catalyst to success. Welcome to the She Heals series. This is a 6-part series where we help empower women to embrace their greatness on the divine journey of motherhood.
I'm Joyce Steele-Moore. I am the founder of Women of Steel Empowerment Zone. I am an empowerment coach and an entrepreneur. I am joined here today with Haisati.
Hi everyone, I am Haisati Khentimah and also known as Brooke Wan. I am the founder of Divine Certified, a natural birth coach, as well as an entrepreneur.
Thank you for joining me, Brooke. I'm glad to have you here with us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
I'm asking everyone, stay until the end of the video because we want to share 3 powerful tips to help you reclaim your peace, your power, and your purpose as a mother. I want to talk a little bit about my story of motherhood. I really lost myself in motherhood. That was a time for me as a mother that I had to find myself. And I know there was a lot I wanted to give my kids, so I dedicated myself to raising my children and pouring into them. My goal for motherhood was to help them to become the best people that they could, to learn great spiritual values, and to expose them to the world and things they needed. So for me, motherhood meant spending time with them, dedicating a lot of attention, and I just sacrificed and loved them unconditionally and made the best out of everything that I could. I know I had a lot of help and assistance from friends and family, and being a new mother back in the day was so much different from being a mother today. I know that it's a strong commitment and it takes a lot of time and patience. And I think that it's something that's so beautiful. And so for me, I relished in motherhood. My daughters were my greatest gift, and they actually helped me to grow. They helped me to heal and become the best version of myself. I went from being a young woman in business, having the world at my feet, to becoming a mother of pearls and trying to give them the best that I can give them in this world. And for me, that meant the world. I wanted to give them more than my parents had given me, even though my parents had really given me quite a bit growing up. They really sacrificed for their children and did the best that they could. So I'm excited about all the things that they put into our lives and all the ways they poured into us. So that was my experience as motherhood back in the day when you and your sister were growing into the great people that you are today. I'd like for you to give me a moment and kind of share with me your idea of motherhood, because it's so different than it was when I was mothering you. And I'd like to know what your thoughts are on it.
So my thoughts on it, I feel like there's a number of similarities that you've expressed that I can align with in terms of wanting your child to be that best version of themselves, wanting to receive what has been given by the previous generations, by your parents with both hands, and then taking that up a number of notches to give a holistically healthy experience to the children so that they can benefit from that at a higher level. So I think that aspect of it might still be the same. I think that there's been complexities in terms of how to actually birth, which ended up, empowering me. A lot of the challenges that I went through in modern day society, trying to have a natural vaginal birth, pushed me actually to having a home birth when I had planned to have a medical birth. But based on a lot of exposures, research, and information that I'm very grateful for, in order to be able to provide for my son in the way that I needed to, the healthiest possible route, we end up having to take an unexpected route and learn a lot in the process. And I think that touches on the statement earlier that we were sharing in terms of how motherhood is not just a title, but it can be that catalyst for success, where you're no longer satisfied with what could have been considered mediocrity. you're no longer satisfied with, maybe achieving certain things. Now you have a need to really achieve, to
Yes.
really evolve yourself, to
Yes.
really grow yourself, because now you have somebody who is watching and looking to take what you give them, or in my case, what I give them, with both hands. Even as I sit here and I'm about 5 months pregnant.
Yes, and I'm so excited. It's such an exciting time for the family.
Thank you. So I'm excited as well. But then that becomes a number of people that, add to the future of humanity, add to, impacting our society, and adds to our legacy. They are the things that we pour into, so that when we pass, there's something that is still pushing forward our mission, pushing forward our initiative and our teaching. So for me, it's just been an eye-opening and a very humbling experience. And then as I dig deeper and really awaken within myself the importance of the role of being a mother, it then pushes me to understand how there's a call to move forward. There's a revolution in terms of empowering mothers to know their importance in their roles, so that we can come together and be more of a village. I think back in your day, a village was no question. Back in our day, I think that, it's almost, motherhood is kind of frowned upon. It's mocked as like something that is
Oh, wow. Yeah, things have really changed.
Yeah. And we can dive deeper into that a little bit later. But at the end of the day, it also kind of shows how there's a lack of village, a lack of compassion for the mothers, a lack of admiration for their sacrifice. And that makes it a bit more challenging. But we're here to, create some balance in that space. And,
Oh, for sure, because mothers are so valuable in our lives, and they definitely can be the catalyst to our success. And as much as we are the catalyst to our children's success, I found it so interesting growing up with my mother and my grandmother contributing to our growth. We learned so much. One thing that I did learn as I was growing up and I was applying different rules and different ways I wanted to raise my daughters, I looked at how I could take what I learned from my parents, my mother, my grandmother, and my aunts, and apply those practices and those things that really didn't apply because times had changed. And now we're looking at a different type of evolution. We're looking at a different type of approach to raising our kids, to discipline, and even to education. Things have changed. So I took those things that I really could use and I applied those things towards raising my daughters and helping them to be their personal best. And some of the things that I didn't think really set in, kind of set with me well, I decided maybe those I wouldn't use so much. So that is an important lesson that I learned as a mother, that we're not going to use everything that we are exposed to, that we take the best of what we're exposed to, and that's what we use to govern ourselves as it pertains to raising our children and being on this journey of motherhood. So that is wonderful. I like to say for me, and I want you to answer this question. What is one of the most important gifts? I think I mentioned a little bit of it earlier, but what's one of the most important gifts that motherhood has brought to you?
I would say that one of the most important gifts that motherhood has brought into me is seeing the divine in a completely different level of realness. Seeing, the anointing that's on me. Seeing that when we become mothers, we're chosen. We are chosen. And that's not that's not a small feat. Too much is given, much is expected. And I think we get nervous with the expectations of what's put on us. But ultimately, I never knew how powerful I was. I never knew how much purpose and meaning was really put over my life. And I never knew how much the divine, especially the way I ended up having my natural birth at home, my home water birth, and being able to experience a lotus birth and seeing the intelligence of my body.
Oh my goodness, that's so fantastic. That process is so great. I know there's tons of people who would probably love to know more about that. That is a phenomenal process, and I applaud you for that. Tell us more. Tell us more about that.
So yeah, we can definitely unpack that at a later time. But overall, that process did expose me to the intelligence of the body, intelligence where I am equipped for greatness. My child is equipped for greatness. And if I walk in that power, I walk in that confidence, if I walk into that calling, that it can supersede the doubt, it can supersede the naysayers, it can supersede the fears, and it unleashes something that you would never imagine. I would never imagine that being within me. And that pours into the children, and to see that reflected within the child, to see that reflected within children, and see that reflected within other mothers when you're sharing your stories and your experiences, and it's not traumatizing, but it's empowering. It allows you to see how much these motherhood experiences may be exactly what we need in order to have a brighter future for tomorrow, for our people, for our children, for our communities. So I would say that has been the greatest gift, just being mind blown with how much we didn't have to have in our control, but still worked out in our favor.
And to that point, when you speak about control, I found myself as a mother of a daughter who had natural childbirth. I found myself having to be patient, having to allow you to own your process, because we're so quick to say something that's judgmental as it relates to how we did it or how it was done in the past. And for me, that was an empowering moment, because it empowered me to step back and to allow you to be the person that you are and to show up in the best way that you felt necessary. And I was just so excited and so happy when I saw a beautiful baby boy and my daughter. You both were just radiating. You both were awesome and just fine. And so I learned a lot from that process. That was very empowering, and it was very humbling for me. It was something that I think a lot of mothers, a lot of parents need to really take time to think about, because I was a helicopter parent, as you know, and just thinking that I had to control it all, and I had to be in control of my adult daughter process was crazy. And for me, I just had to pull back, and I had to say, you know what? I believe that God controls us all. The divine is in control, and that same divine is with my daughter. It's with her child. It's with all of us. So that was something that I learned that was a great gift to me, that you gave to me through the birth of my first grandson. So thank you.
So as promised, we're going to start with 3 tips that is going to empower you on your motherhood journey. Tip number 1 is going to be reframing your story. Motherhood was the best thing that has happened to me, a number of women in our family, across the world, and we've had many trials and tribulations. Yet as a mother, I knew I was creating change makers and leaders who aspire for greatness. My mother and grandmother shared the blueprint, and I may have altered it based on modern norms at this time, but ultimately I stuck to the traditional ways. And it was because of those traditional ways that I was empowered to know that my body was enough. In a time where professionals were telling me my body could not perform, in a time where I had self-doubt and I've never done it before, in a time where, I thought people were more degreed and more educated on my body and how it could work. It was pulling on the traditions and empowering myself with the education and the preparation and application in order to empower my body in any deficits that I feared, that then allowed me to understand I am enough. My body can perform.
Yes.
And what one man puts on me, or what a number of professionals put on me, the divine can overcome. The divine can come over and tell us a different story, a different narrative, and make miracles out of something that could have been traumatic. So tip number 2, I would say, would be protect your energy. It's very important to have non-negotiables, to stay focused on managing your peace. Being an individual who has been a type A personality, Don't know where I got that from.
My goodness.
A type A personality and just a doer, being an entrepreneur. You know, we're used to having to take control. We don't make excuses for our position. So wanting to be in control of so much, wanting to over-explain, wanting to, you know, appeal to others, you know, emotions, you know, it can be some level of exhaustion and futile, right? So it's consuming energy. A lot more than we know. You know, maybe we think that is just some quick clarity, but ultimately it might be taking stabs at our confidence. It might be taking, you know, just exhaustion to get nowhere. So ultimately, during the time of motherhood, it's very important to be able to preserve that energy. Once you're educated, once you're confident, once you've prepared, then it'll be important for you to make sure that you're around people that multiply your energy. And it's not to say that if people don't match your energy, block them, cut them off, and never talk to them again. There might be some occasions where that's necessary. However, ideally, just understanding in this time and space, this may not be the place for them. Even, you know, as my mother shared, there were challenges in terms of having, you know, the traditional birth that we ended up being forced into, growing an appreciation for and taking that route. But it was horrifying. It was horrifying for her. It was horrifying for me. It was horrifying for all of our family. It was unexpected because we were so used to every birth being happening in the hospitals nowadays or at some type of birthing facility. So for us to facilitate our own birth unassisted at home, while all these professionals are saying what I can't do and what my body's not capable of, you know, it was a lot. It was very overwhelming. So in order to offset that, I had to silo myself. I had to educate myself. What is it that I'm really afraid of? Which parts of the process? What is the full process that I may not even be aware of? Watching natural births, being exposed to it so that I actually become more of an aware person to understand what does that process actually look like. Once I became more educated and reading the how-tos on what is the best approaches, the most traditional and ancient approaches that have worked for woman after woman after woman for millions of years since the dawn of humanity, their success gave me confidence in walking in their shoes. And once I was able to get that education and that confidence, I was able to share that with my family. And by the end of it, you know, Bobby, you know, she was sending me books.
Pretty confident.
She was
I felt a
cheering me
lot
on.
better. I felt a lot better because even as you protect your energy, it flowed, it shared with me because I felt more confident that you did the work. And that's part of it, is doing the work and making sure that you have all the details, all the facts, and all the research, and you did the work. And so it just made it flow so much smoother and more confidently. I just felt so blessed and I really felt empowered with that because I knew that it was going to be a beautiful lifetime experience. You know, it's something that you just don't get in today's society and Western medicine. So I was happy for you. I was happy that you were able to do that with such grace and pause and just expertise. That was a great thing.
It definitely was. And we say all that to say, this is the value of taking back your energy. Even though there was a misalignment at that time and space, we don't have to be absolute, because now one of my biggest advocates within my village is my mother. At the time when I was, you know, birthing, by the time we were about to deliver, I'm getting books, I'm getting calls, I'm getting support, I'm getting love. So had we burned that bridge, all the other traditional wisdoms that she then shared, and we might unpack that another day because I thought I could not breastfeed. There was a very, very scary part where I was not able to breastfeed, and I thought my body was not able to do that, which is a common norm in modern society. It's a common fear where many professionals convince us that we cannot breastfeed. Our body is not able to do so. And because of the traditional experiences that my mother had, she was there in the room working it out. And because of that, I was able to breastfeed my child for not just a month, not just 2 months. I was so nervous about my milk from beginning to end, but I was able to breastfeed my son for 2 years, and I was able to choose when I wanted to stop. He had a whole mouthful of about over 22 teeth, and so his bones are nice and strong. You know, we can unpack that later. Diet was a big thing. There was a number of components, but overall, in this aspect, what we're highlighting is the power of just giving things time and space by preserving your energy, pulling it back, and not being resentful for it, but understanding that in this time and space, an individual may not be a great fit for that environment, and we can revisit that later at a later time and space.
Setting boundaries. Everyone, you have to learn how to set boundaries. Everyone does not need to be in your space, and everyone does not need to pull on your energy. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's something that we have to learn how to do, and it's okay to set boundaries, and it's okay to preserve your energy and protect your peace. So, yeah, I would say you did a great job of that. I think you used most of your energy towards applying towards the birth and applying the methods and procedures that you learned. And by setting boundaries, you didn't allow a lot of outside noise or external noise to penetrate.
Oh, yeah.
Very important.
To a very big extreme, too. So around the time of labor, because there's an estimated due date, and then there's a lot of pressure around that, especially from professionals, that your body is supposed to operate based on the external expectations of professional scholars, and what they think. However, being educated, knowing that I was at least 2 weeks delayed because it was my first birth, that's kind of standard for a first-time mom. I had some confidence there, but there was some overage, and there was concern that everybody in the family had. Everybody was waiting for this baby to be born. And I literally had to chop off the phone. We had no phone contact. I had nobody there.
Very true. That was a rough time.
We had somebody who was on standby who could at least send the messages on my behalf to give the update, but they could not directly speak to me because I could not help appease their anxiety while I'm trying to avoid having anxiety of my own on the same concern with my own body. It was very important that I stay relaxed so that I didn't constrain my body and delay my birth even more. So at that point, the priority became, focusing for the child's sake versus trying to appease, people's desire for access. They would be okay afterwards. The biggest priority for safety was the child. Yes. So for us, we, cut off the phone. There was nobody timing me on my labor. They were keeping time. We had a timekeeper, but nobody was saying, hey, you've been in labor 10 hours now. Nobody was pressuring me. Hey, I'm about to get off my shift. Nobody, that wasn't happening. There was nobody, reaching inside me, to the baby's not coming down fast enough. The baby was able to come at their own pace. The baby was intelligent, was pushing down. I had a pushless birth. There was nobody around me to inflict pushing. The only thing that people were around me and helping me to enforce was staying calm, was my breathing techniques to breathe through it, to make sure that the baby had more oxygen so that we didn't have blood pressure issues and then have a true emergency issue that then really would have required more escalation and intervention. So just staying at peace, keeping those dopamine, sometimes we were even cracking jokes, giggling together. I was drinking my teas. It honestly was a nice little spa experience.
Oh, wow. So number 3 is?
The third tip I would say would be legacy over labels. So many times we say, that's the right way to do it. That's the wrong way to do it. Let's not think about things right or wrong. There are so many avenues to get to, the same destination. However, let's think about, what are we prepared for? Are we prepared for what we are striving for? Are we prepared to arrive at the destination that we're seeking to arrive? If we have a fear about something, then how are we strengthening ourselves in those areas to empower this to be the right choice and the right opportunities? And even though we're talking about birth, I'm speaking about birth and my experience and how it impacted me. These principles can be empowered at any given time throughout life when you're trying to rebirth within yourself, when you're trying to evolve within yourself and allow the scared girl, to kind of sit in the background, give her appreciation and her time and space, and move forward into that empowered woman.
Yes.
So whether you're
Yes.
birthing a child, whether you're birthing yourself throughout a challenge, maybe you had a lost loved one, maybe you had a big shift in your life, whether it was, financially, personally, relationship-wise, but you have to make sure that you take what looks like crumbles and pieces and put it together and create something even more powerful and beautiful. We are going to move away from having labels that are deterrents for us and look at how we can take this and make it our legacy, how we can make it our strength, our points, our catalyst of evolution to get to that next level that we know now that is possible.
Yes, especially when it comes down to our children. We want to make sure that we don't put labels on ourselves. We don't put labels on them. So that's a great point. Thank you, Brooke. It has been wonderful doing this video with you, and I look forward to doing many more. So Queens, I want you to drop a heart into the comment section. We would like to know your thoughts and what you like about motherhood. We want to know what you think. Let us know about this space. So if this message touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Share it with another mother. Share it with a friend or a family member who needs to hear it. Brooke, where can these wonderful people find you?
Great question. You guys can find us at divinecertified.com. You can also find us on IG at Divine Certified, as well as on Facebook at Divine Certified. So pretty much across all handles at Divine Certified. Feel free to reach out. We are always excited to be able to support and help however we can. We also have natural birth courses available and more content that we're working on releasing to make sure that we're empowering you all in a number of different avenues.
Oh, fantastic. You can reach me on Instagram at Women of Steel Empowerment Zone. You can reach me on Facebook at Women of Steel Empowerment Zone. So stay tuned. We have so many more videos to come up. Like I said, this is a 6-part series, and we look forward to seeing you there. So don't forget to subscribe for more healing and heart-centered conversations. We are so glad that you're here. We're so glad that you joined us today. And don't forget to join us for the next video, which is Pearls Over Kitty. Okay, ladies, until next time, we will see you then.